Okay, my thoughts are that there's nothing wrong with biological robots, but we also don't know if there's anything wrong with digital robots, because this is a very big statement. It's a big claim to make and say, well, that'll never happen in a digital computer. Why won't it happen in a digital computer? You need to explain your thoughts behind that. And it sounds a little bit like people who said that plywood devices, things with machines on them, would never fly, but now we have planes. So it's not just the domain of birds. The question is, why would thoughts not work on a digital computer? There might be something that keeps it from working if we don't happen to have some analog piece somewhere that's sampling some piece of information that a digital computer can't acquire properly, but we'd have to show that that's indeed the case. I would say substrates that can support enough computation, enough speed, enough bandwidth to be able to deal with the amount of different information that has to be integrated to give rise to perception, to give rise to consciousness. So we're talking about something that it can achieve the same level of computation as what all of the neurons and synapses in our brain can do. Of course, if you're trying to do an emulation of a much smaller creature, a smaller mind, then it would be less. I think that we actually have those kinds of substrates. We have supercomputers large enough to be able to do the task at this time. Yeah, I think so. I don't think that it's outside of the domain of science, because I don't think that qualia are something mysterious. First of all, someone should explain what qualia are. I had a long conversation yesterday with Colin Hales about qualia, and I still don't exactly understand what he means by them, but I very much like the description of qualia as the way in which the associations that a specific individual has learned over their lifetime affects the way that you process information that's coming in. So it affects how you then deal with that information. So it's about associations you've made. And there's really nothing inexplicable about that. There's no reason why science wouldn't be able to deal with that. Why they don't believe it can be computed is there are different reasons. Sometimes it's purely a matter of terminology. Sometimes we're just talking about different things, and when we say things like computed, some people are specifically talking about a very precise kind of computation. They sometimes just mean digital computation according to certain rules, not a mathematical expression of any sort. So if you have the freedom to choose any mathematical expression, maybe they're happy with that. It's just that they say, well, this particular way of doing the work, say some method that's being used in artificial intelligence, won't work. So sometimes it's about that. Sometimes it's just a matter of terminology. But sometimes when I speak to people and they say, well, qualia, you can't capture that, it sounds much more like kind of almost a religious argument. Something that's trying to say, well, somewhere out there we're still at the center of the universe. We're still special. There's something that you won't be able to capture. And, well, then there's really no explanation behind that. It's just a statement. I have no evidence of dualism, and until I see any, I don't really believe in dualism. Well, there is something that makes it feel as though dualism might make sense. It's this sensation of being your own observer, of observing what's going on, of being aware of the fact that your body is moving and that your brain is doing stuff, and being able to kind of check that. So it's this sense of self-awareness. But the self-awareness goes away if you take the brain away, or at least you can put someone in a coma, you can have brain damage, all sorts of things can happen where that no longer exists or doesn't work properly. So there's clearly a connection between the biology and that sensation. But I can see where that would give rise to thoughts of dualism.